Kill Your Lover. What is this movie, Bruce Purkey? There's two. It's a feature filmmaking debut of Alix Austin and Keir Siewart, and it. I was looking at the trailer, and it says it explores the dark side of relationships, and it combines frank sexuality with body horror, and it centers on this couple who just really can't live with each other. I guess the male, played by Axel, he just doesn't want to let the girl go. The girl is Dakota, played by Paige Gilmour, and Axel is played by Shane Quigley Murphy. So the relationship of Dakota and Axel is in full display with Kill Your Lover, relationship drama, possibly mixed with body horror. Bruce Purkey, take it away.
Yeah, that it's exactly right. It is relationship drama with body horror, toxic relationship drama with body horror. And I would say, well, first of all, you do a lot of flashbacks in this movie. I'm kind of curious with Eric because this is one of those movies that starts with a scene of somebody picking up a shard of glass, and you know that something's been going down, and then it's like flashback. But the whole movie does flash kind of back and forth. So as we're seeing the current day breakdown slash body horror slash end of their relationship in one way or another, you're seeing kind of where it came from. So it's kind of, there's been various dramas like that in the past, you know, where you see the good days, like what brought them together, but then now you're in cross-cutting with where they're at now. The key point, I guess, as far as their relationship goes, is that Dakota is, when you meet her, she's like in a, I don't know if they're like a punk band exactly or a metal band, or they're kind of the equivalent of like a Riot Girl band, kind of an idea. And you can kind of see she's sort of a little bit of a wild child, free spirit. You know, she's got all these photos up on the wall of her friends and lovers and all that kind of stuff. Various people she's hung out with various ways. She's got, you know, tattoos. She's a little bit rough around the edges. She's probably doing some substances. She's probably the kind of person that doesn't think about settling down. And you know by the beginning of the movie that she had settled down. And the beginning of this movie is essentially her talking to her best friend, saying like she's finally decided to break up with him. That's kind of the crux of it. They've been together for quite a while. Essentially, she's feeling like she's been kind of domesticated by him, or she's had to change herself to kind of fit into his more traditional world. And that's like the basic dramatic level of this. The other side of this is, and I don't know, what do you think, Eric? How much do we say about what starts to occur? I say there's a physical manifestation of the bad level of their relationship, and it may or may not be just straight up metaphor, or it may actually be happening.
For what it's worth, I did watch after watching the movie, I watched the trailer, and they don't hide any of the body horror stuff that's going on. But yeah, this is pretty much an allegory of a toxic relationship. All the I would say that all the body horror stuff that happens is just a way to drive home the point of give us a visual representation of the, you know, toxic stuff that goes on. And I think some of it, I would say a lot of it works. There's some scenes where it's like that doesn't really work one to one, but it kind of works for the tone of the movie and the horror aspect. So you kind of let a few of them slide. But for the most part, like actually that part I will leave out. But there's a part towards the end where I guess we'll say it's not just the boyfriend,
right,
that has the physical manifestations, because this is, you know, it's a toxic relationships. It's a disease pretty much. You know, it starts off pretty small and then just kind of grows and spreads even outside of the relationship at points. And I think this is kind of an example of like where horror, if you use horror as an allegory, it can really drive home points that I think might seem mundane otherwise, or might not come across. Like, for instance, if you have a character that's, you know, they gaslight their significant other all the time, you know, that only comes out when they're doing it. But if they got like, you know, like cuts or bruises or things or whatever on that, like they have a physical thing of, oh, this is what it is, and the movie sets that up. I think it's a lot easier to not forget that that's a thing, especially when they start having conversations of when someone starts to gaslight someone else. It's like, what did I ever do to you? While they're still covered in blood and sores and bruises and everything. And that's in the conversation, it's easy to forget that what they've done because they're couching it in that way. But when they're physically covered in their sins, it's like, what do you mean? I'm looking right. I know exactly what you've done. I know how you got and so I think it hits a lot harder than it would otherwise. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff, I think, for the most part. Oh, and to point out the flashback part at the beginning, they do the cool thing at the beginning, and then they do the flashback. They cut to another interesting scene. So that's why I didn't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is we're going to start it with this exciting scene, do a flashback, and then do a 20-minute of nothing or uninteresting stuff. Like this one, the scene they cut to was the girlfriend talking with her friend. And then that's right away getting you right into the story, and I'm interested. So that's why that flashback didn't bug me at all, because it flashed back, but it went right to another important, interesting thing that told the story some more.
I also thought it wouldn't bother you because it's more kind of in the nature of the format of the whole movie. Like it kind of jumps back and forth. It isn't just it isn't a bait and switch where it's just like, ooh, something's good's going to happen in like 40 minutes. And then you go back.
So the opening flashback bugs me when it's, hey, the beginning of our movie is boring as crap. Let's just put one of the exciting end scenes at the beginning. So when we cut to the boring crap, it's just that's just like lazy. We don't have a beginning to our movie. This isn't that. This is doing something completely different.
So Eric, Kill Your Lover worked for you in general?
Yeah. It was actually, there was a couple times I kind of wanted to punch the screen, but that's because the movie was so effective. It had nothing to do with the movie not being good. And there was like, unfortunately, like we've seen, at least I've seen relationships like this, and I think it kind of nails it. And it's not men bad, women good. It gets into the weeds and into some gray areas too. It definitely has a point of view for sure, but it's not. This isn't a man bashing movie. This is a toxic relationship movie.
Cool.
And everything that goes, everyone who's at fault in that, everyone who's not in fault and not part of it, but it affects him anyway. Like it kind of covers a lot more ground. The Handling the Undead had a similar allegory, although it was about death and letting go, but it didn't really play with that. I think Kill Your Lover plays with the whole allegory that it's using. It's plays with it a lot and goes in pretty hard in a lot of different directions.
Cool. What about you, Bruce?
I'm a little cooler on it. I mean, overall, I think I'd still recommend it lightly, but I think for me, the only problem I have with the metaphor here is it's so on the nose in some of the parts that I either wanted it, because I think we could put it this way. It's a really low budget indie movie, right? But for what it is, I think it's really smart about relationships. And I think the way it presents relationships, I think to the point of what Eric is saying, it's pretty even-handed. It's not just bashing one side. It's also one of those things where, like a real relationship, from the outside watching it, right out of the gate, you're like, oh my gosh, I can see all the ways this isn't going to work. You both are driving into a car wreck here, but you're going to see it happen. It's going to be a car wreck. For me, the problem with the metaphor part is it was kind of obvious. Like we knew that stuff. So I either wanted, if that was going to be the metaphor, I almost would have said, you need to blow it up even bigger. Or this almost feels to me like a point where they had the idea, they had the metaphor, they wrote the movie, and they almost didn't believe in their movie enough that it could almost live without that. Like it could almost live without the horror metaphor, I think.
It could, but I think there's some instances where the physical manifestation will tell a character and tell the audience things that it wouldn't have that physical thing not been there because
I agree.
of the whole gaslighting thing. Like when people are really good at it, you forget things. But with the physical manifestation there, you can't because it's right there, right in front of you.
But there's other times when they do things, and once again, I'm not going to say because I give away things. There's other times when they do things when I'm like, it pulled me out of it because there was something that was kind of so, let's just say, there is a physical manifestation that happens at the climax of this movie that is so on the nose.
Yeah.
Of what one character is doing to another character. It is just like, and there's a couple scenes like that. There's a scene where a person outside of the relationship, something really bad happens to that person. And it kind of pulled me out again because it was kind of so over the top and not really, I mean, this is taste, personal taste.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something would have worked a little bit better for me. I didn't hate it, but it kept pulling me out a little bit. So
I think I know what scene you're, in fact, I'm almost positive I know exactly. No, I know. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm just like, come on, you guys, you can't do that.
I get what you're saying, and I almost agree with you, but just the way that the movie's kind of set up, I think it kind of earned that, even though you're 100% right. I just didn't mind it because I thought the movie it was going there. It earned that, so I'll let that be.
Yeah, we also have to mention again, I apologize for mispronouncing their names. Alix Austin and Keir Siewart, the co-directors of this movie. And not like I know what punk rock is, but the music who's the name of the girl? It's Dakota. She was previously in a band. I think, like you guys said, it was sort of a punk rock type of music, punk rock pop maybe. But there is a sort of very punk rocky ethos to this whole indie film because it's set in one location. I mean, there are different visual setups, but mainly they're claustrophobic in this apartment. And the apartment actually changes without giving too much away. But the whole construct is they're in a confined space. And with what little low budget money they had, they made some really good visual choices. For example, if you want to make a apartment or a domicile visually interesting, put up a whole bunch of pictures on the wall with a big FU or F off neon sign, and it makes it look prettier. It's actually really well done. And it's something that Hitchcock used at the beginning of Rear Window. You know, you actually pan across with a bunch of pictures and you tell the story. This movie tells a story with a sort of a collage of pictures, and they actually reference it throughout the narrative. That's how they sort of play with the visual elements. Obviously, being a De Palma fan, I was more than fine with a split screen moment in Kill Your Lover, or there's also almost a split diopter moment as well, where you have two people who are in different parts of if you guys don't know what a split diopter is, you have one person in the foreground, one person in the background, but it's sort of like the images are both clear and intense. And a lot of people say split diopters is showy. I don't even know if they used it, but they used some sort of facsimile of it in one sequence, like a very quick sequence, but they know how to actually move around with the camera and do some really interesting visual setups with Kill Your Lover with whatever little means they had. So I got to give them props for that. I think overall, as a relationship drama, it worked to an extent. When it gets to the body horror, that works as well. But to me, my big strike against it is not like I know anything about relationships, but this was too one note, meaning there is not too much of a variance. I know the variance in this movie will be, okay, throw in the body horror. Okay, amp up the music, which the music is really good. But the fact it's just
the score is really fantastic.
Yeah, and there is variance in the score. Okay, some really good stuff. The sound design is well done. Okay, but again, I just felt a lot of this movie was almost one note. Two people screaming at each other for nearly 77 minutes. There is Erica. Yeah, I know that's a definition of a toxic relationship.
That's what these relationships are. But
yeah, I know. I just felt I just felt there was a little bit one note, but overall, I have to really applaud the filmmaking behind and the performances by Shane Quigley Murphy and Paige Gilmour. They're both fantastic in this movie. So let's get to ratings. Eric Holmes, your rating on Kill Your Lover.
I was gonna say that's like complaining. It's like, man, Burger King. I mean, what's with all these burgers? Like it's called Burger King.
Dude, they have chicken sandwiches at Burger King, man.
Yeah, it's fine. But one thing I did want to point out, and anyone that watches this, this is something I kind of noticed, and I don't know if these are like kind of just not mistakes, but like accidents that maybe I'm reading too much into. But like you see where my hand is, and as I get closer to the computer monitor,
his hand is on his chest, folks.
As I get closer to the computer monitor, it disappears, right? But it didn't go anywhere. It stayed exactly where it is. But as I move, they do a lot of stuff like that where certain physical manifestations leave camera, or like really clever ways that they just kind of disappear when the character's in a certain kind of headspace. Almost like that physical manifestation is going away, but it just looks like it's going away. I don't know if that's me reading too much into it, or that the filmmaker is meant to have stuff like that. But if you watch Kill Your Lover, keep that in mind as you're watching, because the physical manifestation that comes out, that, I mean, you'll figure out pretty quick that that's a thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's not.
But once that happens, keep an eye out on what's actually on screen, because I think there's like little subtle kind of jabs at the filmmakers, or little subtle things that the filmmakers are doing that might not be apparent, but I thought was kind of clever.
Okay.
And I didn't even notice it till like the movie's almost over. I'm like, wait, are they doing the thing? Oh, I should probably watch this again and see if there's more of that in there. And there probably is. But
cool.
Yeah, this is not complete one for one. And there's a couple kind of things that don't quite work, but overall, I liked it a lot. And it's like 70 minutes. It's like an hour and 10 minutes long. So
your rating, Eric?
4.5.
4.5 out of 5 stars for Eric Holmes. Bruce Purkey?
I think I'm gonna go 3 on this one.
And I think I'm gonna continue to copy Bruce Purkey's ratings for the rest of my life. I'm gonna go 3 as well. 3 stars for me for Bruce Purkey. Hey, look. Bruce gave it 3. I gave it 3. I don't know if I liked it more than Bruce or Bruce liked it more than me. I think at the very baseline, we recommend the movie. It's a mild recommend for me and a mild recommend for Bruce. We both saw some good stuff. But
I should point out.
Okay.
I believe I watched Rush before this. So that might have something to do with it.
Here we go. All right. 4.5 stars for Eric Holmes. We're going to get to Ron Howard in a second. 3 stars for me, Bruce, for Kill Your Lover. Again, 3 stars, not such a bad rating, folks, but 4.5 stars. That's a wowee rating from Eric Holmes. In theaters and VOD, June 7th. Why do I sound always like some kind of salesman? But why not? Theaters and VOD, June 7th. Is this my real voice, Eric Holmes, or is it not?
Hey, Kill Your Lover out in public this Friday at a theater near you.
Okay.
Meanwhile, people take their dates to the movie theaters and like, I guess I gotta kill you now. That's what we're.
Yes, we do not suggest any of that kind of violence, folks. But if you ever do get violent, we have those shower curtains available on CinemAddictsPodcast.com.
This is CinemAddicts.